Hello and welcome, you guys. Excited to go over today's show. For those who don't know, this is content's available both on as a podcast and on video on YouTube. So whatever you prefer to watch or to listen to, I like doing both. To be honest, just depends on where I'm at. If I'm traveling or if I have an opportunity to sit down, I like videos, but I also like being in the car and listening to stuff. So whatever you prefer to listen to, just so you know, it's available for you there. Today, what I wanted to go over, and I know this is going to be an especially important one and probably very popular, is I believe this is the greatest tool and the greatest way to overcome any objection in sales, or just for overcoming objections in general in sales, how to do it. And it's a process that can be applied to whatever industry you're in. It could be door-to-door, it could be phone sales. It is definitely an amazing process, and I'll definitely give examples of what I've done in my industry, which is pest control, how it's worked for me there, but I know it'll work in door-to-door and phone and any kind of sales that you're doing. So today what we're going to start with is the most effective way to overcome an objection is this. It's an acronym, and the acronym is ARAC. So we're going to break it down. Each of the steps, we're going to talk about what it means, why it's important, and give you some examples of things I say or things that you could say. So we're going to start with the letter A, the very first one. And this A stands for agree. So when we say agree, it's pretty simple. You get an objection. We'll give you a quick example. You get through your pitch. You've been trying to get them to listen to you. And then they give you a common objection that we'll hear is, I need to talk to my wife. I need to talk to my spouse, whatever it is. And you're like, okay. And so your first thing to overcoming this objection, you could just freak out and just be like, and then lose the sale. Or you could actually be calm and collected and have a process for being overcome whatever concern they have. And the things you say will differ depending on the objection, but the process, and that's what we're going to learn today, the process is the same. So agree. You're going to agree no matter what they say. They could say the stupidest excuse, the stupidest objection in the world. What you're doing is you're not agreeing to the objection, you're just agreeing with the customer. And so what you're doing is you're saying something like, okay, totally get it. Yeah, in your shoes, I totally understand that. Now, we're on the same page. I get where you're coming from. Some simple phrases like that, or something as simple as, okay, you can just say, okay, yeah, sure. And then the next step, and well, breaking that down, why we do this, is you need to put them on the same team. If you're not on the same team with your customer and they feel like you're trying to sell them something, guess what? They're just not going to buy. So you need to make sure they're on the same page, the same step as you are. And if they have a concern, then you need to recognize this as an actual concern and being on their team and be like, cool, I get it. I've had millions of people say the same thing. I've had thousands of people just in your neighborhood say the same thing. Guess what? We're going to overcome this because this is what we're going to do. And that will lead you on to your next step. So once you agree with them, you're going to resolve. Resolve the concern, resolve the issue. And so what this means is resolving, it's pretty simple. If they've given you the objection, we are going to go to the example of I need to talk to my wife, I need to talk to my spouse. And you agreed with it. It's like, totally, if I was in your shoes, I'd obviously want to make sure they're cool with it too. In the end, and then this is where we're going to talk about resolving, in the end, your wife, she doesn't like the bugs. She doesn't want to see the ants and spiders around the house, right? And then they'll be like, yeah, of course, no. And so then you'll be like, okay. So that right there is just a simple way that you can resolve that in that example. What I've done is I've helped them see the bigger picture. So in their concern of, I need to talk to my wife, whether it was legit or not, and recognizing that a lot of objections are not legit, but you still need to go through this process of kind of, okay, yeah, understand. In the end, it's just this, or in the end, you're going to want to have to do this anyways. You're going to have to hire somebody. You might as well just get it done now while we're here so you can save yourself that initial discount, blah, blah, blah. And so you're resolving the problem right there. And in that situation, I resolved it by saying, cool, in the end, your wife doesn't want to see the bugs. You're going to either have to spray it or you're going to have one of us do it. And guess what? We're going to do an amazing job, and we're going to get you guys hooked up on our group discount today. So it's just a no-brainer. We'll get you guys totally taken care of. One thing I am going to do for you, and this is going to lead into our second step, or third step, which is the third letter. But just to recap, A, agree. You want to agree with your customer. Whatever the objection is, you're agreeing with them. You're not agreeing with the objection. You're just agreeing with them. You're getting yourself on the same team. Then you're resolving the concern. Whatever the concern is, you need to have a good, fast response that helps you overcome that whatever the objection is. And once you resolve it and it's a quick thing, you don't spend you spend the minimum amount of time possible. And you heard me right there, it was like 10 seconds max. I try to resolve as fast as I possibly can, but I'm letting them know I heard their concern. I'm not just blowing through it. I heard your concern. Yeah, this is an actual thing. In the end, this is the reason why you really don't want to wait. This is the reason why your wife's going to love it. Your wife's not going to worry about you making this decision. Help resolve that problem. And then you're going to then ACE. And this is probably the most important, other than the final step, which is closing. But the third step, I feel like, is probably one of the most overlooked steps, because a lot of times you'll think you resolved the problem. You probably spent way too long resolving it. And then you go back to it's like, cool, let's just get you signed up here today. And there's just all this pressure that they feel like they have to make that decision. And they a lot of times are going to back into their corner and be like, no, I really need to think about this. I really need to talk to my wife. So the way that you're going to get them to overlook this and to get beyond this feeling of like they have to think about their objection is you're going to distract them. So the third letter is A, and this third letter A stands for ACE. So when we say ACE, acing means, whenever I say to ace a customer, it just means, in my words, it's distract or give them something new to think about. And this could be a lot of different things. So what does it mean? Acing a customer could be something like focusing back on the problem again. So once you resolve their concern of talking to the wife, it's like, yeah, and I know you had mentioned you'd been seeing those ants. I'd forgotten to ask you though, were you guys seeing those? Was it more in the front or more in the back? And I am now completely going off on a different target. I'm not talking about his wife anymore. I'm going back to the source. I'm talking about the bugs. I'm talking about the concerns that we already discussed earlier. And I'm going to maybe talk about a slight variation of it. We talked about how you'd seen some of the ants inside, but I had forgot to ask you, sometimes they get into the garage. Have you been noticing any of the bugs inside the garage as well? And what you're doing is you're distracting them. You're helping them focus back onto the problem instead of focusing on their concern and on their objection. So focus on their pain points and how you're going to resolve that pain point again. That's what acing means. Acing also can mean a way of distracting or a way of creating value for them is just giving them more of something. So giving them more value, giving them a bigger discount. So for instance, if I'm in pest control and I want to give them a good ace, and I can see maybe pricing is a concern. Maybe they told me it's a little expensive. You're like, cool. Totally get you. In the end, you don't want to have to deal with this yourself because you're going to probably spend more money going to the store and dealing with this all the time. But I understand the initial can be a little steep. Tell you what I'll do for you guys. You've never used our company before, right? Yeah, the first time, no worries. We'll go ahead. I'm going to take care of you guys this initial discount. Instead of doing it for X amount, I'm going to take an additional $50 off. We're going to totally hook you up. So it's going to be super cheap. So this way you're able to see how amazing we are, and you'll end up loving our company. And then you'll go into the close. But there's a brief example of getting over, acing and giving them something extra. I gave them an additional $50 off. So now they're not thinking about they need to talk to the wife. They're not thinking about how expensive it was. They're thinking about, oh my goodness, this guy's totally hooking me up. He's saving me another $50. Oh yeah, I'm going to totally do this. And so in our example of earlier, I probably would have said with the wife, oh, he needs to talk to the wife. I probably would have just gone right back to the bug problem. I would have discussed whatever their concern was. I could have thrown in additional value if I wanted to. I could say something along the lines of, and I know those ants were a big concern. Some of the people around here have been seeing those wasps. Tell you what I can do for you. Instead of just doing our general perimeter sprays, we'll go ahead and we'll throw in our yard service for you as well. This is going to totally eliminate the source. So now you're not going to have to deal with them in the grass, as well as make sure they don't get inside your house anymore. Normally that's another add-on service. I'm going to go ahead and throw that in for free for you. So now you can get the yard and the home treated together. Now you're not going to see any of the ants at all. They're not going to come from your neighbor's yard either. So you're going to love our service. So that's the process. You've now aced them. You've given them extra value. You've focused on the problem. You've distracted them to the point where they're focused now back on track. You're back on the solution. You're focused on how you're going to resolve those pain points. You're going to give them an additional value, additional add-on service, and there's no limit. But you usually don't want to do too many aces. You don't want to be like, oh, I'm going to throw in this thing. I'm going to give you a $50 discount. Oh, and we're going to do this. You don't want to spend forever, repitching them unless you absolutely have to. But you want to just make it as quick as you can until you can see that they're focused and they're excited about the the opportunity again. And then you go back to your final C, your final letter, which is C, which stands for close. And you're going to close the deal right there. And for anyone who knows with closing, anytime you're closing, it's always closing today. No matter what type of sales you're doing, you always close today. I'm not waiting for you to close, oh, let's get this signed up for tomorrow. It's like, no, we're going to get you guys signed up for here today. And so you're closing them today. It's like, great, so we'll go ahead and get you guys signed up. You're not closing them to come back later, like, cool, I'll stop by later tonight when your wife's home. It's like, no, like, you're going to get this set up as everything in your power to get this done today, right now. And then at the end, after you've done this ARAC process so many times to where it's obvious that you have to come back, well, then you do. You don't want to like go too hard. You don't want to lose a potential sell. But a lot of times these concerns can be resolved in a quick 1-2 ARAC process, and then you just close the deal. And so this is your process. Closing is as simple as, cool, we'll get you guys set up for here. I just need to grab a few things from you. What's your name? That's it. So close is as simple as that. Make sure you're closing and make sure it's confident and you're feeling confident in your abilities to close. You have lots of different ways to close, but my favorite ones, if it's a customer who's obviously feeling good about the service, I go straight to my contract. I don't ask, cool, does that sound good to you? It's like, great, we'll get you signed up here. What was your first name? Go on, remind me, what was a good phone number for you? And we'll go ahead and get to this address set up. What was the location, your address here? Whatever it is you want to say, get right into it and start filling out the contract. And I usually am looking down when I'm going through it. So those are my processes. We're going to recap those real fast, and then that'll be today's tip. But for overcoming objections, you want to remember ARAC. And in your mind, you're like, what's ARAC? Agree, resolve, ace, close. Agree, resolve, ace, close. I'm agreeing with the customer. We're going on the same team. I'm not trying to just sell you something. I'm trying to show you that I'm working with you. I'm a friend. I'm someone you can trust. Once I've agreed with you, I resolve the problem. I don't just blow through it and totally ignore what you just said. I resolve it. I say, hey, understand your problem. Tell you what, this is what we could do for you. Or I see this problem. In the end, it's really not that big of a deal because most people have had the same concern, and the reason why they end up using us is because of X, Y, and Z. Whatever it is, resolve the concern and help them realize that their concern really isn't that big of a deal. But the big thing is making sure you're acing. Once you resolve their concern, you go straight into your ace. You don't try to close them right after you resolve it. You need to go back to something new. You need them to think about the service. You need to think about, all those bugs I was seeing. All of this money I'm going to save. Whatever it is, remind them of the thing that is making them want to do this. And once you've helped them kind of start thinking about that again, get all excited about your service, your product, whatever it is, you're then going to move on to step 4, which is closing the deal. And you're closing them today. It's like, great, we'll go ahead and get this all set up real fast. I'll just grab a few things. What was your name? And that's it. So I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, my main thing I like to always ask is just share, like the podcast. It's the best way to grow these. It really means the world to me, and I love you guys forever. So if you can do that, that would be amazing. And if you are a door-to-door sales rep, or if you're looking to get into door-to-door sales, you're unhappy with your current team, or you're looking for an awesome team to work with, Rio Marketing is our company. It's amazing. We are looking for reps who are trying to grow, become better, and be a part of a team that's going to help them get there. I'm 100% confident this is the right place for you if that's you. So please reach out to us. The best way to do it is either on our website, tryD2Dsales.com, or you can DM us on Instagram at Rio Marketing Sales. Till the next show. Thanks, guys.